Welcome back to Tov, the Jewish news channel. We have with us today Yoni Ben Menahem, a very experienced Arab affairs analyst. And I'd like to ask you, Yoni, what is it exactly that the Americans want from us? We saw the outpouring of support, the very, very moving speech that President Biden gave, the repeated visits by Anthony Blinken and other top officials in the government and their warm words of support. But what is the subtext? What is the price that Israel will have to pay for this outpouring of support?
Well, this is a very good question. The Americans have interest in the Middle East, as you must know, and they've lost some of their position in the Middle East because of the quick withdrawal from Afghanistan, and also they created a vacuum that China took advantage of and went into this vacuum and mediated between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and brought this rapprochement between the two countries, and the Americans were left outside. Now the Americans are trying to create an axis that they are heading, which will include the modern Arab states, the Palestinian Authority, and Israel, which will be the counter axis to the other axis headed by Iran and supported by China and Russia. So they have interest in the Middle East, and they don't want to lose their interest. The war that broke out can change this balance of powers. So since Israel is the best ally of the United States in the Middle East, they want to keep Israel strong. On the other hand, they are very worried what will happen in the day after the war in Gaza. Nobody knows what will be the outcome of this war. Hopefully, Israel will win and manage to topple the Hamas regime in Gaza Strip and destroy all the military infrastructure of that terrorist ISIS organization. But the question remains, who will rule Gaza Strip after the victory, the expected victory of the IDF over Hamas in Gaza Strip? This is a major question, and Americans are pushing Israel to put forward a plan that will say what will happen in the day after. The American position is that the Palestinian Authority, headed by Mahmoud Abbas Abu Mazen, is the one that should also rule Gaza Strip, because it ruled the Gaza Strip in the past. In 2007, they were kicked out by Hamas, who made a coup d'etat against the Palestinian Authority and threw them out from Gaza. But the Israeli position is unclear yet. There are many voices in the Israeli cabinet that object the return of the Palestinian Authority to rule Gaza, because they claim that the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is supporting terrorism, and we don't want another organization that supports terrorism that will rule the Gaza Strip.
We also know that there haven't been elections in the Palestinian Authority because they know that Hamas would win a majority in those elections. So what, are we going to bring in a Hamas proxy into Gaza? Is that what the Americans want us to do? Anthony Blinken spoke about the two-state solution on Friday on his visit here.
Yes, the Americans have this illusion that a two-state solution is possible and this will bring peace. But we already had a state in Gaza Strip called Hamastan, and there was no peace between Hamastan and Israel. On the contrary, Hamastan attacked Israel on the 7th of October and carried out this horrible massacre. But you cannot.
Is there any fundamental difference between the Hamas Charter and the Palestinian Covenant? Are they fundamentally different in the goals that they lay out?
Look, the goal is the same, in my opinion. people that will not agree with me and will say otherwise. But I personally know from my experience that there's no difference in the final goal of the Palestinians. Hamas wants the destruction of Israel, and the PLO wants the destruction of Israel. The difference is about the tactics. Hamas says, no, now we want immediately, we have the power to destroy Israel, let's do it now, we have a military power, and the best proof is what happened in the 7th of October. We destabilized the Israeli army and Israel, and it's only a matter of time that we have enough military power with the help of Iran and Hezbollah. We can do that. The PLO says, no, the PLO or PA, it's the same thing. No, we have to do it in stages. First, we have to establish an independent Palestinian state in the borders of 67. And from there, it will be easier for us to take over Israel, and then we'll be able to unite the 48 territories to the West Bank. So there's no difference in the final goal, in my opinion.
So I saw an interview, a recent interview with Mohammed Dahlan, in which he said the two-state solution is dead, and they want a one-state solution, a democratic country, which they expect Israel to refuse.
Of course they want a one-state solution. This idea of Dahlan is very similar to the idea of Hamas. They say Palestine from the river to the sea. What do they mean by a one-state solution? They mean they are going to be the majority in this state. They will bring in all the 7 million refugees, Palestinian refugees who live in the diaspora, bring them into this state and create a majority. This way they will rule the Jews, and the Jews will be second-rate citizens. This is what they want. And this is a very dangerous idea. By the way, Mohammed Dahlan is very close to Hamas. He was expelled from Fatah by Mahmoud Abbas a few years ago in 2011. And he's very good friends with Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Deif, the military leaders of Hamas. He was born in Khan Yunis refugee camps, where those two terrorists were born also. And he also, while he was in Israeli jail, he was in the same cell in the Israeli jail with Mohammed Deif. So there are very good connections between them. But this is not realistic. The idea of Mohammed Dahlan is not realistic, because there's no way Israel is going to accept that. The idea is that Israel wants to be an independent Jewish democratic state and don't have any partnership with Muslim Palestinians.
So why aren't we listening to what the Palestinians are saying, whether they are Hamas or PLO, PA? Why don't we just listen to what they say? Why do the different, you said, I think this, and others may disagree with me. Why don't we just listen to what they are telling us?
You know, suggestion is very good, because if the Israeli leaders would know the Arabic language and could read the Arabic language and treat the Palestinians the way it is acceptable to treat them in the Middle East, everything would have been different. But the attitude of the Israeli government, not only this current government, also the governments before, they are talking to them in Yiddish instead of talking to them in Arabic. And they don't understand the mentality of the Arabs, and especially of the PLO and Hamas, and we saw the result 30 years ago when the Israeli government, headed by the late Prime Minister Rabin, signed this shameful Oslo agreement that is the source of all these problems, bringing into Judea and Samaria a terrorist organization headed by Yasser Arafat, the master terrorist. So this shows you, this indicates that they don't know how to play. They don't know the rules of the game in the Middle East. This is the problem.
But it seems that the Americans suffer from the same delusion.
Yes, I'm not surprised. You know, the Democratic Party is always have these crazy ideas of a two-state solution. You know, when I say this is not relevant, the two-state solution, so people ask me, so what do you suggest? What do you want the continuation of the occupation? They tell me, and so on. I think that there is a solution, which is very clear: autonomy, autonomy. Give them full autonomy to the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, but the overall security must stay in the hands of Israel, because especially after what happened in Gaza, this is the best proof that Israel should control the security all over the Palestinian territories, Judea, Samaria, Gaza, because our experience is that whenever we withdraw from any territory, immediately the terror organization take control of it and turn it into a base of terrorism against Israel. This is what happened in Gaza Strip.
You're saying autonomy over the population, not over the territory, basically, and that Israel would maintain all security control over the territory. That's basically what we had before Oslo.
Yes, but you know, after the signing of the peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, Prime Minister Begin, Menachem Begin, agreed with President Sadat on a full autonomy for the Palestinians. We have to implement this idea. We have to sell this idea to the Americans and to the world, because we cannot trust the Palestinians. They are trying to take advantage of any Israeli withdrawal and turn it into a base of terrorism against Israel. You know, just when we were controlling Gaza Strip, I remember that because I was covering it as a journalist. They were always telling us, just please withdraw from Gaza and we will turn Gaza into Singapore, and you will see how it will flourish economically and everything will be fine and will live a coexistence with Israel, there will be peace and so on. The minute we withdrew from there, Hamas made a coup d'etat against the Palestinian Authority, threw them out, and instead of creating Singapore, they created Hamastan, a terrorist entity against Israel.
Would it have been different, in your opinion, if the PLO had remained in charge in Gaza?
They couldn't remain in charge in Gaza because they were too weak, and the general mood in the Palestinian street was against the PA because they were so corrupted, and I don't think it would have changed a lot because they did not fight terrorism. They were, as you remember, the revolving door. They used to arrest terrorists and release them the next day. So in the long run, we would come to the same result in the end. We cannot trust those Palestinians, not the PLO, not Fatah, not Hamas. And in any arrangement, any peace arrangements between Israel and the Palestinians, the overall security issue should be only in the hands of Israel. You cannot trust
and
Palestinians.
Territory? And should they pay a price in territory in Gaza?
Yeah, definitely. We have to create what happened, only stress the fact that we have to keep the safety of the Jewish communities that were attacked on the 7th of October along the border with Gaza. That means that we have to create a buffer zone between these Jewish communities and between the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. We need at least a buffer zone of
some people call it a kill zone.
Yes, a kill zone. Anyone that goes into this security zone or buffer zone should know that there are mines there, and there are Israeli soldiers there, and there are snipers there. And if they will cross this buffer zone, they will be shot to death. This is the only deterrence that can work in the field.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yoni Menachem.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to remind our viewers, don't forget to like us and join and subscribe to our channels.